Kharon Military Academy floated high above the frozen planet of Vera 9. It was one of the hardest training schools in the galaxy. Young warriors from hundreds of alien worlds came there to learn combat, survival, and war. Every hallway was filled with loud voices, proud fighters, and dangerous species. But one person was always quiet, a human girl named Lena Ward. Most cadets ignored her. Some laughed at her behind her back. Others feared her only because she came from Earth, the famous Deathworld. Still, Lena never acted dangerous. She walked alone. She trained alone. She ate alone. Many students believed the stories about humans were fake. They expected a monster, but Lena looked calm and thin. She never shouted. She never bragged. She never started fights. That made the Dravok cadets laugh at her even more. The Dravok were huge reptile-like warriors. Strong muscles covered their bodies, and sharp teeth filled their mouths. They believed strength was everything, and weak people deserved pain. One afternoon, combat training filled the main arena with noise. Hundreds of cadets watched from above while teams fought inside the giant metal chamber. Lena stood silently near the back wall. Not far from her was Tarek. Tarek was small, nervous, and weak compared to the others. His species was known for science, not combat. Many cadets bullied him for that reason. But Tarek was the only student who ever spoke kindly to Lena. During training, one of the Dravok suddenly slammed Tarek to the ground. The crowd laughed. Another kicked his breathing mask away. Tarek struggled to breathe as dust filled his lungs. The instructors saw everything, but they did nothing. Because the bully was the son of Commander Rax, one of the most feared Dravok officers in the sector. The giant reptilian cadet grabbed Tarek by the neck and lifted him into the air. "You do not belong here," he growled. Tarek tried to speak, but no words came out. Then the arena became strangely quiet. Lena had started walking forward. Slowly, calmly. Her boots echoed across the metal floor. The Dravok cadets smirked when they saw her. One of them laughed loudly. "Oh look," he said. "The quiet human wants to help." Lena ignored the joke. She knelt beside Tarek and carefully helped him breathe again. Then she looked up at the Dravok leader. Her face showed no anger, no fear, only silence. "Who gave the order?" she asked softly. The Dravok grinned. "I did," he said proudly. "What will you do about it, human?" For a few seconds, Lena said nothing. Then she slowly stood up. Everyone waited for her to fight. But instead, she turned around and walked away without another word. The crowd burst into laughter. But Tarek noticed something terrifying before she left. Lena's hands were shaking, not with fear, with rage. The laughter followed Lena all the way out of the combat arena. The Dravok cadets mocked her loudly. "Run back to Earth, human. She is scared." Even some instructors smiled quietly and looked away. Only Tarek watched her carefully. Something felt wrong. Lena did not look defeated. She looked controlled. That was far more frightening. Outside the giant arena windows, snowstorms covered the frozen world below the station. Thick white clouds moved across the darkness of space. Night cycle had already begun. The academy slowly returned to normal after training ended. Cadets filled the food halls, training rooms, and sleeping quarters. But Lena never appeared for dinner. Hours passed. Tarek sat alone in the medical room with bruises across his face. Small machines helped him breathe easier. A nurse checked his injuries before leaving him alone again. The room became silent. Then Tarek noticed something strange on the station monitor beside his bed. Security alarms. At first, they flashed only in the lower docking sector. Then another warning appeared. Then another. One by one, cameras around the outer station suddenly shut down. A cold feeling moved through Tarek's chest. Meanwhile, deep inside the security center, nervous officers stared at their screens. Camera 14 offline. Cargo hull cameras lost. Thermal systems not responding. The station commander growled in anger. Find the problem now. But nobody could explain it. Outside the station, the frozen wastelands of Vera 9 were deadly even for trained soldiers. Ice storms could tear metal apart. Huge predator creatures hunted under the snow. No normal cadet would survive alone out there at night. Then a damaged emergency signal suddenly reached the station. The voice that came through was full of panic. It belonged to Commander Rex. "The human," he breathed heavily. Screams echoed behind him. Gunfire exploded in the background. "She's hunting us." The signal cut off. Every officer inside the control room froze. Commander Rex was not weak. He was a veteran warrior who survived 3 wars. But for the first time in years, fear filled his voice. Minutes later, the main station alarms activated. "Warning, outer gate opening." Heavy metal doors slowly unlocked near the docking bay. Snow blew inside the station halls. Armed guards raised their weapons toward the entrance. Then a shadow appeared through the storm. Slow footsteps echoed across the floor. 1, 2, 3. Lena walked out of the white snow calmly. Her clothes were ripped by ice and wind. Blood covered one side of her face. The guards stared in silence. Behind her, the snowstorm howled like a living monster. In Lena's right hand was something large and heavy, something covered in dark blood. She stopped beneath the bright station lights. Then everyone saw it clearly. A severed Dravok arm. Commander Rex's command markings were still attached to the armor. One young guard almost dropped his weapon. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Lena looked at the terrified soldiers with cold, quiet eyes. Then she said only 4 words. "He hurt my friend." And suddenly, every person in that station understood one terrifying truth. The quiet human girl had never been weak. She had simply been holding herself back. By morning, the entire academy had changed. The loud hallways were now silent. Cadets whispered nervously whenever Lena walked past them. Some quickly moved out of her way. Others avoided looking directly at her. Nobody laughed anymore. The story spread through Kharon Station faster than fire. A human girl had entered the frozen wastelands alone, and returned carrying the arm of a Dravok commander. Even worse, Commander Rex was still alive. Barely. He was now inside the medical wing under heavy guard. His remaining soldiers stood outside the room with weapons ready, but fear showed clearly on their faces, because Rex kept repeating the same words over and over. "She hunted us in the dark." Inside the Academy Council chamber, senior officers argued loudly. "This human is dangerous. She attacked a superior officer. She acted in self-defense." Another officer answered angrily. Rex and his men attacked her first outside the station. The room became quiet. Security footage from a damaged helmet camera played across the table screen. Snowstorms covered the image. Gunfire flashed through the darkness. Then shadows moved across the ice. Fast, silent, deadly. One by one, armed Dravok soldiers disappeared into the storm. The final part of the recording showed Lena standing alone in the snow while Commander Rex screamed in terror. The video ended suddenly. Nobody in the room spoke after that. Far away from the meeting hall, Lena sat quietly in the food area by herself as usual. She ate slowly while dozens of cadets secretly watched her from a distance. Tarek carefully walked toward her table. His injuries still hurt, but he forced himself forward. Most students stared at him like he was crazy. Tarek stopped beside Lena. "You saved me," he said softly. Lena did not look up from her food. "They would have killed you someday," she answered calmly. Tarek swallowed nervously. "Did you really fight Commander Rex alone?" For the first time, Lena stopped eating. Her eyes slowly lifted toward him. "There were 6 of them," she said. Tarek's face lost color. 6 trained Dravok warriors. Alone. No normal species could survive that. But humans came from Earth. A Deathworld. Later that night, Commander Valek, one of the Academy's oldest instructors, opened secret military files hidden deep inside the station archives. Old war reports appeared across his screen. Human survival rates. Human battle records. Human endurance tests. Every page carried the same warning. Extreme species do not provoke. Valek read reports about Earth itself. High gravity, dangerous oceans, poisonous animals, deadly diseases, violent weather. The planet was almost designed to kill living things. Yet humans survived it. They evolved inside it. Valek leaned back slowly in his chair. For years, the galaxy believed humans were simply aggressive. Now he understood the truth. Humans were not dangerous because they loved violence. They were dangerous because survival was normal to them. And Lena Ward was not even one of Earth's soldiers. Meanwhile, deep inside the medical wing, Commander Rax opened his frightened eyes. Then he whispered something that froze the blood of the guard beside him. She smiled during the hunt. 3 days passed after the attack in the snow. But fear still lived inside Kharon Station. The academy no longer felt loud and proud. Now it felt nervous. Quiet whispers filled the halls whenever humans were mentioned. And everywhere Lena walked, eyes followed her. Still, Lena acted like nothing had changed. She attended training. She spoke very little. She stayed close to Tarek. That made the remaining Dravok cadets even angrier. Especially Varkon, the son of Commander Rax. Unlike his father, Varkon was cruel, impatient, and filled with hate. He could not accept the shame Lena brought upon his family. Every Dravok warrior in the sector now knew the story. A human girl had defeated Commander Rax and taken his arm. For the Dravok species, that humiliation was worse than death. So Varkon made a choice. If the academy would not punish Lena, he would. Late one night, warning lights suddenly flashed across the station. Power systems failed one after another. Entire hallways became dark. Emergency sirens echoed loudly. Cadets rushed out of their rooms in confusion. Then another alarm appeared across every screen. Warning. Lower engineering sealed. Warning. Life support damage detected. Panic spread quickly. Inside the darkness, hidden figures moved through the station halls. Dravok warriors, armed, hunting. At the same time, Lena opened the door to Tarek's room. Empty. Her eyes immediately narrowed. The room was too quiet. Then she noticed something near the floor. Blood. Only a few drops. But enough. A deep silence filled her chest. Slowly, Lena turned toward the dark hallway outside. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she looked truly angry. Meanwhile, terrified officers searched the station cameras. But most systems were disabled. Only broken images appeared. Shadows, movement, screams. Then one frightened technician whispered, "They took the alien boy." Commander Valek slammed his fist against the control desk. "Find Lena now." But another officer looked pale as death. Too late. Deep below the station, inside the endless maintenance tunnels, heavy footsteps echoed through the darkness. Varkon smiled while dragging Tarek across the metal floor. "You should blame your human friend," he growled. Tarek struggled weakly against the chains around his arms. "She will come for me," he whispered. The Dravok warriors laughed loudly. Then suddenly, the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the tunnel. The laughter stopped. One warrior cursed nervously. "Who shut down the power?" Nobody answered. Then a strange sound echoed softly through the tunnel. Footsteps. Slow. Calm. Coming closer. One Dravok raised his weapon toward the darkness. "Show yourself." Silence. Then something moved fast through the shadows. A scream exploded through the tunnel. The first Dravok soldier vanished. His weapon crashed loudly onto the floor. The others panicked instantly. "She's here." Gunfire filled the darkness wildly. But the bullets hit only walls and pipes. Another scream echoed. Then another. Varkon's confident smile disappeared. Fear slowly entered his eyes. Because now he understood the terrible truth his father tried to warn him about. The station was no longer theirs. The human girl was hunting them inside the walls. The dark maintenance tunnels shook with panic. Dravok soldiers fired wildly into the shadows, but fear ruined their aim. Sparks exploded from broken pipes and damaged wires. Smoke slowly filled the narrow halls. Somewhere in the darkness, Lena moved silently. Another Dravok warrior disappeared around a corner. A second later, his scream echoed through the tunnel. Then silence returned. The remaining soldiers backed closer together. "She's not human," one whispered nervously. "No," another answered with shaking breath. "She's worse." Far ahead, Varkan dragged Tarek deeper into the lower engineering sector. Giant reactor machines hummed around them like sleeping monsters. Tarek could barely walk now. His face was bruised, and metal chains cut into his wrists. But even through the pain, he noticed something strange. Varkan was afraid. The giant Dravok kept looking over his shoulder every few seconds, as if he expected death to appear behind him. Finally, they reached the reactor chamber. Blue energy lights covered the massive room. Heat filled the air. Varkan threw Tarek onto the floor beside the reactor controls. "This ends tonight," he growled. Suddenly, the station trembled violently. Warning alarms exploded across the chamber. Reactor instability detected. Tarek's eyes widened in horror. During the fight in the tunnels, damaged power lines had pushed the reactor toward overload. If the core exploded, everyone on Kharon Station would die. Even Varkan looked shocked. "What have you done?" Tarek asked weakly. But before Varkan could answer, a voice came from the darkness behind them. "You did this." Lena stepped slowly into the reactor room. Blood covered her hands and jacket. One side of her face was bruised, but her eyes looked cold and steady. Behind her, unconscious Dravok soldiers lay across the tunnel floor. Varkan raised his weapon immediately. "You destroyed my family," he roared. Lena kept walking forward. "No," she answered quietly. "Your family destroyed itself." Varkan screamed with rage and charged at her. The two crashed into each other beside the unstable reactor core. Metal pipes bent from the force of the impact. The Dravok was larger and stronger. But Lena moved faster. She struck his throat, his knee, his arm. Every movement was sharp and controlled. Still, Varkan refused to fall. Around them, reactor alarms screamed louder. "Core failure in 3 minutes." Tarek looked desperately at the damaged controls. Someone needed to stabilize the reactor now. But Lena and Varkan were still fighting. Then Lena suddenly shoved Varkan backward and turned toward the reactor panel. Varkan laughed wildly. "You would save us after everything?" Lena began repairing broken controls with shaking hands. "If this explodes," she said coldly, "innocent people die." For a moment, Varkan stared at her in disbelief. Then hatred returned to his face. He grabbed a broken metal blade and rushed toward Lena from behind. But before he could strike, Tarek slammed into him. The weak alien cadet screamed as both crashed to the floor. Lena turned instantly. In one fast movement, she disarmed Varkan and pinned him hard against the metal ground. The giant Dravok struggled helplessly beneath her. Lena stared down at him silently. Then she spoke words Varkan would never forget. "You thought kindness meant weakness." Moments later, the reactor stabilized. And for the first time in his life, Varkan truly feared a human. The story of Kharon Station spread across the galaxy within days. News ships, traders, and military channels all carried the same shocking report. A quiet human cadet defeated armed Dravok warriors, saved an entire station from destruction, and hunted trained soldiers through dark maintenance tunnels. For many species, it sounded impossible. For humans, it sounded normal. Weeks passed, and life inside the academy slowly returned to peace. The broken tunnels were repaired. The damaged reactor worked again. But the station itself felt different now. Before the incident, humans were treated like strange outsiders. Now cadets moved aside whenever Lena walked through the halls. Some looked at her with fear, others with respect. But nobody mocked her anymore. The academy leaders also changed old rules after the attack. Bullying weaker cadets became a serious crime. Combat instructors were punished for ignoring violence during training. And for the first time in academy history, mixed-species teamwork classes became mandatory. Commander Valek personally created the new program because he understood something important now. Strength alone did not create true warriors. Character did. Meanwhile, Commander Rax and his son Varkan were removed from duty in disgrace. The proud Dravok family lost its honor across the sector. Many warriors blamed them for provoking a human for no reason. Even worse for the Dravok, they lost to a quiet girl who was not even a soldier. One evening, Tarek stood inside the training arena again. But this time, nobody pushed him around. Nobody laughed at him. He had changed. The weak and nervous cadet now trained harder every day. He learned strategy, survival, and self-defense with confidence. And every few days, Lena trained beside him silently, not as his protector, as his friend. During one training session, Tarek looked toward her carefully. "Why did you really help me?" he finally asked. Lena paused for a moment. The giant arena lights reflected softly in her eyes. Then she answered quietly, "Because I know what it feels like to stand alone." Tarek smiled slightly. "You are not alone anymore." For the first time in the entire academy, Lena smiled back. Small, quick, but real. Months later, new cadets arrived at Kharon Station. As always, rumors spread quickly among them, especially the story about the human girl. Some believed it, others laughed and called it fake. One arrogant young warrior smirked during dinner and asked an old instructor nearby, "Did a human really tear off a commander's arm?" The old instructor slowly looked up from his table. His face carried scars from many wars. "Yes," he answered calmly. The room became silent. Then the young cadet laughed nervously. "What happened to the human?" The old instructor leaned back quietly. Across the food hall, Lena sat alone near the far wall, calmly drinking from a metal cup. Several cadets immediately avoided looking at her. The instructor pointed toward her. "She's still here." The young warrior's smile disappeared instantly. Then the old instructor gave one final warning. "Remember this carefully," he said. "The commander was lucky. He only lost an arm." And across the room, the quiet Deathworld girl continued drinking peacefully while the entire hall remained silent around her. The end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel. See you in next video.